Oh, hello. If you have clicked on this video, it's because you want to know a little bit more about how to manage this whole NAR settlement thing as a new agent. If that's why you're here, stay tuned because we're going to get right into it. Hello, I'm Rodonna Boyd. I am the founder of the Successful Agent Training Academy, and I am an associate broker in the Virginia Beach area. So we're talking about NAR. The NAR settlement. So just a little backdrop. It's been, some major conversations that are going on and major things coming out in the news media about this big NAR settlement that started out in California in different areas. Big brokerages are involved, like Keller Williams, people being sued by the sellers, and essentially they won. The bottom line is that the sellers were under the understanding that they were required to pay the buyers commissions, which they are not, and they have never been required to. Now, I can go into a whole conversation about that, but I'm not going to get into that. But the bottom line is that as a result of the settlement, a lot of the MLSs are going to be removing by July, removing the dollar amount that shows that this is how much the seller is willing to pay the buyer's commission for their agent. Well, that can be problematic if you are a buyer's agent, and a lot of new agents come out and they start working with buyers. It's just an easier way to really kind of hit the ground running. And so if you're coming out and you're starting as a buyer's agent, you may be thinking, oh my gosh, well, what am I going to do if I can't get paid? And that's what the media is pushing. Buyers agents aren't getting paid. That's what they are pushing, but it's not true. Say it out loud to yourself. It's not true. At the end of the day, what is true is what you negotiate with your client. And there are a couple of different ways that you can look at this. You should be having this conversation when you're at the buyer consultation, which you should be doing when you are talking to them about what you will be doing for them, what your expectations are from them, and how the process will go. You should be having these conversations anyway with your buyers, but also, especially now with this kind of new information coming in on the scene and so much inaccurate information that's going out over the news media, you want to make sure that you are the professional and you're having these conversations with your clients. First of all, many sellers are still 100% willing to pay the broker fee for the buyer. Why would they be willing to do that? The reason why many sellers are still willing to pay that fee for the buyer is because that may be the only way that this buyer can ascertain the purchase of their home. So if you have 3.5% down that you have to put on a house for an FHA loan, for instance, this is just one example. If you also have 3.5% closing costs that you have to put down, and now on top of that, you potentially have 3% or whatever that number is that is negotiated with the client that you have to put down, it could actually knock a lot of buyers out of being able to pay that to purchase that property from the seller. And these are conversations that are usually had with the listing agent and the seller. That doesn't mean that they will always choose to still pay for it, but a lot of sellers, because of that, they are willing to still pay. And so when the news media says buyers agents are not getting paid, that's not necessarily true. In most cases, that's not true. But one of the things that you want to do is have these conversations with your client. You can say, hey, there are some sellers that are not willing to pay the broker fee for the buyer. Do you want me to continue to send you homes if they are not willing to pay? Are you okay paying a fee? Or do you only want to see homes that they're either going to pay the fee for you or they are at least going to help? You can have these conversations because some may say, well, I don't mind paying. I can pay this amount. Maybe we can negotiate the other amount in. And some may say, oh, no way. I'm barely making, my commission, my closing costs and my down payment, and if they say that, they may say, don't even send me the houses that I'm going to have to bring in additional X number of dollars to the table. They may just say that. And so these are conversations that you need to have with your buyer so that you can know how to manage moving forward with each buyer. And then if you're on the seller side, you should be having the conversation, because there are going to be buyers that are coming to look at that house when it's listed that love the house. They have their closing costs, they have their down payment. And sometimes it may be a VA buyer, and a VA buyer doesn't have a down payment. And maybe they're in a program where they get free closing costs. And maybe they are not bringing any money to the table, but they have a solid pre-approval letter. They're a solid buyer. They're a military person or what have you. And all of these things, you have to keep these things in mind. And you, as the professional, are the one that is responsible to have these conversations with the seller if you are the listing agent, and with the buyer if you are the buyer's agent. And you need to be the one that's communicating the truth of what's going on based on that NAR settlement. You have to be the one, you have to understand what's going on so that you can communicate. Just because NAR lost that particular case and they came back around to say, okay, well, the sellers don't have to pay. The sellers actually never had to pay. They never had to pay. The sellers choose to pay based on the conversation that they have with the listing agent when they're listing their home. They can choose to pay. They choose how much they want to pay, or they choose not to pay. That's always been the case, where they have that option to do that. And as agents, if you're not pitching that as an option, that's what you're doing wrong. So you want to have that pitched as an option. And we can do another video on these conversations that should be had with the seller, as well as how to have these conversations with your buyer. But I wanted to dig a little more deeper into it. I did a reel earlier, and I wanted to really have time to just kind of break it down a little more and explain why and how what's going on in the news media about buyers agents being paid is not true. Period. It's not true. There will always and has always been situations where a seller may or may not have wanted to pay a buyer's agent and didn't. And there will always and have always been sellers who also were 100% willing to remove that boundary from a buyer who may want to buy their home. And so I wanted to just do that video on that and just kind of talk in a little greater detail about it, and we'll be doing more videos. So if you are not following me, click that follow button here on YouTube for the Successful Agents page. Click that notification bell, not the follow button, subscribe. Click on the subscribe button and click the notification bell to make sure that you are notified when I do videos. It's all about me helping you. If you have questions and you want me to do additional videos and answer questions on those, I'd love to help you. If you're not following me on social media, at The Successful Agent is where I am on Instagram. It's where I am on Facebook, and then at Successful Agent Lessons on TikTok. So I'd love to continue to just kind of walk out this journey with you. If you have questions, you'd like to see a video of a certain specific content, let me know. I'd love to help you out. And if I'm missing anything that you had a question about with regards to this, just type that in the comments below and let me know if you've been hearing about this. Just type that in the comment. Yeah, I've been hearing, and this is what I thought it was. And we can address those things. Again, this is Rodonna Boyd. I'm an associate broker here in Virginia and North Carolina. And, I'd love to help you out. Even if you know people that are in Virginia and North Carolina and they need help with an agent, I'd love to help. And if you're in a different state and you are just so happen to be listening to this, but you're not an agent yet, but you're just learning early on and you want someone to vet an agent for someone you know or what have you, you can just let me know. I'd love to do that in other states and I can send a referral over. But thanks so much for stopping by. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. Again, Rodonna Boyd with The Successful Agent.